My name is Hadi. Welcome to Migration 313. I recently, this year in 2016, made the Hajj to the Haramain, to Mecca and Medina. And there were some brothers and sisters who had questions for me. And in this video, I'm going to attempt to answer those questions about my trip. And inshallah, I'll give you some perspectives about Hajj from a revert's perspective. As many of you know, I'm a revert to Islam. I was raised in a Christian family and accepted the Deen of Islam later on in my life. And this sort of gives me a new perspective on different things, including the Hajj. So the first question that they had for me is, tell me about your overall experience with Hajj. Well, obviously, the overall experience with Hajj, I mean, what I can say is that it's a very great spiritual experience. It's like, the only thing I can kind of describe it as the closest approximation that I can do as far as spiritual experience is actually when I first reverted and became Muslim. Because it was such a profound experience. And it was such a cleansing experience from a spiritual point of view that really there's no equivalent in normal everyday life. And I think this is one of the reasons why, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it wajib, so that people, at least once in their life, could have this, great cleansing experience, this experience of getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this experience of leaving aside the dunya, the life of this world, and coming towards Allah in a metaphorical sense. Okay. What was it like when you arrived at the airport? Well, we arrived at our Hajj group, because I went with the group like most people. We arrived at the airport in Medina, and in some ways, the airport in Medina is like any other airport. In other ways, it's not, because when you approach the airport, most people, you got this feeling like, wow, we're at Hajj now, and this is like the first station, and we're really here, and wow, this is really great. Of course, once you actually get off the plane and then you get into the airport, and you see like this just basically sea of people from everywhere in the world, it kind of hits you that now you're at Hajj. It hits you again. Now you're at Hajj, and now you have to try to become a better person and be on your best behavior and try to treat people with kindness and respect. But it's difficult even when you get in the airport. It's difficult because obviously you see a lot of people from different cultures, and they have different ways of interacting, and some people are pushing and shoving, and etc. So it's kind of your first taste of what it's going to be like the rest of the time. So, where was your hotel in Mecca? Well, we were at the Shuhada Hotel, which is I'd say maybe 15 minutes from the Haram, in Mecca. So the good thing about being in that hotel is that you could very easily walk to the Haram, and you could go anytime you want. I mean, if you were going, obviously, we're there in Hajj, so even getting from the hotel to the Haram when it's crowded is difficult, and sometimes they actually close the street because there are so many people. But most of the time, you can get there, and it's good. What were the hotel accommodations like? They were basically like a hotel is here. The only difference is there's no, if the other people, you go to Mecca or Medina, and you're from the U.S. and you're looking around for a laundry mat, there's no laundry mats there. That was one of the shocking things to me, was that I was I want to do my laundry. So actually, most of the hotels, they have a laundry service, but you have to pay them. It's not cheap. I mean, it's expensive. So you want to try to take as many clothes as you can, so you have to minimize the times that you have to do laundry. Okay. I mean, if you're getting ihram, I would recommend getting at least 2 or maybe even 3 ihrams, so you don't have to wash them all. Okay. What was your favorite part? I mean, my favorite part, obviously, which there's 2 things. I mean, number one is being together with we had a really good, group. Alhamdulillah. I went with the group here from Dearborn. Hajj Hassan Hamoud, his group. Alhamdulillah, they were it was a very good group. It seemed like in the group, all of the people in the group, had the same purpose, which is they thought maybe this is the only time I'm going to go to Hajj. I want to try to make the most of it. They were trying to make the most of doing the Hajj, their spiritual experience, having good akhlaq, making sure they did things correctly. We had a sheikh with us who was very knowledgeable, alhamdulillah, and Hajj Hassan was also very knowledgeable. So getting around was not that difficult like it is for some groups. So that was a good part. The other part was, of course, being with the people and also being in the haram. When you go into Mecca or also Medina, because we went to Medina also, being close to the Kaaba, in Mecca, or being close to, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina was very. I just can't describe it. I mean, you feel like you get this overwhelming sense of peace and comfort, and like everything's going to be okay, and it's very. So. What most surprised you? What did you find the most difficult? Arafah was not that difficult as far as it was very spiritual, and you were in a tent, and the bathroom situation was really bad. I have to say, the government there doesn't really care too much about making things easier for the people who are doing Hajj. I mean, the infrastructure and the bathroom thing was absolutely. If you come from the U.S., you better be prepared for a big shock as far as when you're not in the hotel, as far as the infrastructure and things are basically. I mean, the bathrooms and everything are filthy everywhere you go, so you have to be very careful about that, about tahar and najis and all that, and it's but the actual experience about being on Arafah was very, you felt like you were being elevated spiritually. You were going up a level spiritually. But right after Arafah, when you go into Mina and going to Muzdalifah, brothers and sisters have to be prepared because you're outside, you're walking to the Jamarat, where you stone the shaitan. And there's millions of other people walking with you. And most people, you've never been in that situation before, where you have millions of people, literally, and I'm not exaggerating, millions of people trying to get to the same place at the same time. And the government there, like I said before, they don't make it any easier. In fact, they make it more difficult because it's almost like there's no plan, there's no organization. People are going through different streets in different ways, and some streets closed, some streets are open. People are yelling at them. So that's the situation, and it's really difficult in that way. Like physically, it's very difficult, to do that. And in what ways was the reality of Hajj different from how you imagined it? I imagined it to be, I would say, less physically challenging. I mean, I imagined that, sort of naive, I guess. I mean, I imagined it to be physically challenging in certain places, but I didn't expect the crowds and how disorganized it was. I mean, I thought if there's going to be big crowds, um, it's going to be like we're here. You have lines, you have barricades, you have people with clearly directing people which way to go and everything. It's not like that. It's basically chaos. I mean, there's crowds going everywhere, people going everywhere. There's if you're claustrophobic, it's going to be difficult. Yes. There's really no way to avoid it. That's one of the tests of Hajj, and and I didn't really expect that. And at some points, I mean, I don't consider myself a very fearful person or a very paranoid person, but in some points, you're afraid for your life. You think maybe this is it. Maybe you see this big group of people, and you're trapped, and there's no way to get out. Like what happened in the Jumrah when they were closing the streets, and what happened last year is that 1,000 people died and the only reason why is because the soldiers there, the government just decided to close the street for just some random reason. The people got confused, and then nobody knew where to go, and people started panicking, and then that's what happened. It could be easily avoided by a little bit of organization and a little bit of caring about the people. Unfortunately, it seems like the government there really doesn't. Where were the other members of your group from? The other members of our group were from mostly from the Dearborn area in the United States. So obviously, we were some of them were born in Lebanon and then immigrated to the U.S. when they were kids, or later on. Some people were born here. Some people were. I met other reverts there also at Hajj, like this one guy named Chris who was an American, born here. He was also a revert. He was in our group, and he kind of had about the things I'm talking. He kind of had similar feelings to me. The things that were he wasn't expecting some of the things to happen. What advice would you give to other reverts who go to Hajj? Like I said, the main advice that I'll give you is number one, take a lot of clothes with you. Take several ihrams. Be prepared spiritually for a trial. Don't think that it's going to be like a Hawaiian vacation or something like that. It's a test. It's a trial, and you go through difficult circumstances like some of the ones I just went through. I don't think that I'm not going to tell people that you're in danger physically. Mostly you're not. I mean, they sort of keep it to the point where your chance of dying at Hajj is not very great. Most likely you won't die, and you probably won't get injured. But you may get sick, physically sick, because you have bacteria and things from all over the world that are there that you've never been exposed to before. You may get gastrointestinal issues or other things like this, maybe a cold or something like that. So be prepared for that, and be prepared for it to be physically difficult. But also the good thing is the feeling that you get, the spiritual boost and uplift you get is very profound, and it's so profound most people don't realize actually how profound it is. So from a spiritual enlightening point of view, it's actually, you're going to get more than you actually expect from that way. So in that way, it's worth it to go. And inshallah, I pray, do dua for all my brothers and sisters, especially the revert brothers and sisters, that they'll get a chance, inshallah, soon to make the Hajj. Inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.